Hey guys, Bubba here at the BubbaNews. All in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? It is May 15th at 10:15 p.m. Go figure. It is Thursday night. This is crazy. This whole week has gone by with Trump being over in the Middle East. That's all the news has been about. And we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. And I'm just calling this a Middle East update because we've got everything from Jolani yesterday with Israel becoming a nation, 1948, May 14th, they celebrated. But we had Jolani up there in Syria and Trump meeting. You had all kinds of people, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. But we've got Gideon's chariots that are coming up with the big operation going into Gaza. And that is not going to be good at all because this is going to be a true bloodbath. But yeah, we're going to get to that. And just to show you real quick what I'm talking about here today, all these areas in red up and down the Gaza Strip are areas that were hit today by Israel. So Israel's going in early, and they're not supposed to begin Gideon's chariots until Hamas continues to refuse to come to an agreement, ceasefire with Israel, or Trump leaves the Middle East, and he leaves the Middle East tomorrow. But you know what? Just like Joshua 1:9, we have to be strong and courageous. Do not be dismayed. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. There's so many good verses in the Old Testament. I love the Old Testament. You know, as a new believer, I thought we only needed the New Testament since we were born in Christ. But oh no, the Old Testament fills in all the missing pieces for Bible prophecy. That's for sure. You know, even discussing Bible prophecy, you know, we're going to do news from yesterday and today, so let's get going. But, you know, even a couple of months ago, Jolani there of Syria had a $10 million bounty on his head for terrorism. And as a member of Al-Qaeda, yesterday he met Trump. Jolani offered a mineral deal for the United States. Jolani is still a terrorist. And he took a country by force and took care of lots of people and took them out and not to lunch. But Trump called Syria's al-Shara a real leader, saying he led a charge and he's pretty amazing. This is what Trump is calling Jolani. Trump said meeting with the Syrian president went great, saying he is a young, attractive guy, a tough guy. He's a fighter. Trump also said Jolani's Syria will recognize Israel once his country stabilizes, or so they think. Trump is embracing a policy where Syria will determine its own future. He will not hold the past against Shara and Syria. He's ready for a new world order, the Jerusalem Post said. Talking about Trump with Jolani. This is why Trump is meeting with a terrorist, because he's looking for a new world order, and he wants Abrahamic accords. He wants peace in the Middle East. You know, and the U.S. is pressuring Israel to accept a Gaza ceasefire. You know, the U.S. informed the mediators that it opposes Israel expanding military operations in Gaza, and that Hamas demanded guarantees that Israel would not return to war again once the ceasefire is reached. But, you know, the next few days going into this weekend are going to be very vital following Trump's Middle East visit. And we're either headed towards a long-lasting deal in Gaza. You know, with Jolani, he comes through as a terrorist, but U.S. whitewashing becomes a freedom fighter. Or we're heading towards imminent occupation of Israel into Gaza and conflict with Iran, because that is coming up. That's still on the tables. And Operation Gideon's Chariots are set to begin this Saturday, May 17th. Because Operation Gideon's Chariots will cause so much destruction that video footage coming out of Gaza in 1 week from now will be beyond comprehension, in my opinion. And yesterday I posted this on Telegram. I'm going to show it here tonight, but this is a great clip from Amir showing how all 2 million people or so of the Gazan people are expected to move into the tiny Marag corridor, the Marag humanitarian zone, and try to live in a tent city in the days to come in southern Gaza. But this will stir up the anger of almost all Israel's Arab enemies by Israel moving in and taking over Gaza. Because an Arab covenant is going to be made against Israel. And I believe that it could be coming in the next few weeks. But look at this clip from Amir where he shows how all the Gazan people are going to be moved into southern Gaza. Oh, that's not it. That was a picture I was supposed to show you a minute ago.
Chariots.
Let's get over to Amir.
Is this operation, and we are going to start with it this Friday. Take a look at it. We're going to take care of a humanitarian area down south. And all the residents that are uninvolved are going to be pushed all the way from the northern part of Gaza Strip into the humanitarian zone through filters and gates that will make sure they are unarmed and uninvolved. And the only one left in Gaza will be terrorists, and we're going to take over, destroy Gaza. And listen to me, when I say destroy Gaza, we destroy everything underground and everything under the ground.
He's so right. And I'm going to show some verses here in a little bit too, talking about once Israel goes into Gaza, it's going to get nuts. It's going to get ugly. And I believe him here, but he's totally right, because they want to move all those people down into that southern part down there in the Marag humanitarian zone. So we're going to see some Bible prophecies coming up really soon. And speaking of Bible prophecy, yesterday they celebrated on the solar calendar May 14th, 1948. The state of Israel was declared 77 years ago. David Ben-Gurion declared the state of Israel's independence. And only 2 days earlier, Ben-Gurion received an ultimatum from the U.S. State Department on May 12th, 1948, telling Ben-Gurion of Israel to wait a year or so until we, the United States, pacifies the Arabs. If you don't, you will be crushed and you will be on your own. Well, David Ben-Gurion of Israel decided not to wait. Now it's Friday morning, and the newspapers announced today at 4 p.m. Tel Aviv Museum, a Jewish state will be declared. Only a few dignitaries were invited, and even fewer knew the name, Israel. By 4:12 p.m., the ceremony was over, and Houthi was played. And at 4:21, 9 minutes later, President Truman wires his recognition of the new state of Israel. The very next day, on May 15th, 5 armies invaded Israel. In the Egyptian war, planes, they started bombing Tel Aviv. You know, this was the Israeli War of Independence that came up beginning the day after, May 15th, 1948. But you know what? The rest is history. Actually, the rest is one very big miracle. Can Israel be formed in one day? Yep. There's a Bible verse that talks all about that. But you know what? Even with the people are going to start turning on Israel soon, especially with the lack of humanitarian aid that Israel's allowing into Gaza. 2 days ago, we had Macron, who turned on Israel. Yesterday, we had Italy. Meloni, she urged Netanyahu to respect international law in Gaza. You know, as Israel gets ready to begin Gideon's Chariots operation into Gaza, expect to see more of these world leaders turning on Israel. And more we'll talk about the only way to peace with the state of Palestine is to have the new state of Palestine coming, a two-state solution. And the Italian Prime Minister on Wednesday called the humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave of Gaza increasingly dramatic and unjustifiable. And world leaders are beginning to despise Netanyahu for the lack of a ceasefire and for blocking the humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. You know, 2 days ago, it was Macron. Yesterday, it was Meloni of Italy. Who's next to start publicly calling out Israel on the global stage? Here's Macron 2 days ago, Emmanuel Macron. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu's Gaza measures a true disgrace. And Macron said we must fight with all of our might to reopen the Gaza border because these are human lives. Then we must fight to demilitarize Hamas, free the hostages, and build a political solution. The political solution is a two-state solution. And he continued to say the only way to achieve this is through a state of Palestine and a state of Israel living side by side. And we're going to watch that video here in a second, recognizing each other and each other's right to live in security. Well, Netanyahu responded to Macron, saying Macron has once again chosen to stand with a murderous Islamic terror organization while accusing Israel of blood libels. Macron demands that Israel surrender to terror. Israel will neither stop going into Gaza nor surrender to Hamas.
J'ai eu des mots très durs.
Here he
Je me
is.
suis fâché avec le Premier ministre Netanyahou. Mais la France, seule même avec les autres Européens, on peut mettre toute la pression du monde. Mais non, il ne dépend pas de nous. Il dépend des armes américaines. Il n'y a pas d'eau. Il n'y a pas de médicaments. On ne peut plus sortir les blessés. Les docteurs ne peuvent plus y aller. Et je veux saluer le travail des humanitaires que j'ai vu à la Riche, les Médecins sans frontières, toutes nos ONG avec le centre de crise du Quai. Ce qu'il fait, c'est une honte. C'est une honte. Et donc nous, on doit se battre absolument pour d'abord rouvrir. Parce que ce sont des vies. Ensuite, oui, on doit se battre pour démilitariser le Hamas libérer les otages et construire une solution politique. Le seul moyen d'y arriver, c'est qu'il y ait un État de Palestine, un État d'Israël qui vivent côte à côte, se reconnaissant mutuellement et reconnaissant le droit de chacun de vivre en sécurité.
The only way to achieve this is a state of Palestine and a state of Israel living side by side in peace and harmony. Isn't going to be wonderful? But you know what? We're going to see a snowball of countries turn on Israel soon, because the amount of battalions and armored vehicles that Israel has ready to go into Gaza is no joke. Seriously, it's no joke. I'll scroll in. The army on the left activated 2 reserve infantry and armored brigades. Now, 5 more reserve brigades have been called up. So, Operation Gideon's Chariots is going to get absolutely insane. And the amount of evacuation orders will be wild to watch unfold. And all bets are off once Trump departs the Middle East tomorrow. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But you know what? Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. All you that hope in the Lord. Psalm 31, verse 24. What an amazing verse. The book of Psalms is so cool. Especially, I love Psalm 83. There's so many cool chapters in there. Psalm 121 onward. But you know what? Trump arrived in the United Arab Emirates today. And this was on social media earlier today. What is up with the young women flinging their long hair around? When I first saw this, I thought, what kind of black magic stuff is this? Crazy. But what you saw with the UAE right there is young girls shaking their long uncovered hair in front of Donald Trump. It's actually part of a traditional Emirati and Gulf Arab welcoming ritual. It's known as the hair dance in some areas, and it's often accompanied by other performances, and the long hair symbolizes beauty, pride, and purity. And the rhythmic tossing of hair while moving or dancing is a very old Bedouin custom, often done at weddings or for highly respected guests. It is meant to honor and welcome dignitaries, expressing joy and high respect, which is really wild. Trump loved it. He thought it was great. I mean, but you know what? Trump is supposed to visit the Abrahamic family house in Abu Dhabi tomorrow. And he's going to be the first American president to visit the interfaith institution since its inauguration in February of 2023. And you guys have heard about this by now, I'm sure. The Abrahamic family house. It houses a synagogue, a mosque, and a church, all connected by a central pavilion. And it's intended as a display of interfaith cooperation and tolerance by the UAE. Trump would be the first president to tour the complex. Secretaries of State Blinken and Rubio have visited previously, and Rubio visited, I believe, in February, if I remember right. But this will be a huge nod to the Abraham Accords and a potential pivot on tolerance to unite the 3 Abrahamic faiths. And we're going to talk about this towards the end of the video in about 10 more minutes. But, you know, this visit by Trump to the Abrahamic family house is going to be huge with geopolitical symbolism, with strong interfaith undertones, merging Judaism, Islam, Christianity, the 3 monotheistic religions of the Abrahamic faith, into one. The world is watching. But while Trump goes to the UAE also announces their full AI government. This is wild. I'm just going to play a quick video clip, but, you know, while most countries are still trying to figure out how to make a PDF editable online, the UAE dropped TAMM. It's TAM. It's their sovereign cloud AI-infused real-time government super app. 950 services can be performed through this app. No lines, no forms, no predictive AI handling. Just predictive AI handling everything from parking tickets to booking appointments and paying your bills. It's like the DMV and the Matrix had a baby and then raised it in Abu Dhabi. Microsoft's Brad Smith saw this and said, you need to bring this to America. But this is like tracking every single person, and everything goes through this app. This is nuts. But, most global super apps prioritize aggregation or notifications, but TAM's proactive AI support has real-time eligibility checks to see if you can even get your license. I mean, it runs all these checks. It's wild, but it's setting a new standard for government technology to control your life. And other nations are taking notice and seeing how that they can bring their governance.
Remember when you had to stand in line to renew your driver's license? Remember when you didn't know how to report a pothole that needed to be repaired on your street? Now you can do it all with one AI system. And by the way, you can do this today in Abu Dhabi. We need to bring it to America.
That was Brad Smith from Microsoft saying that we need to bring this technology to America. But you know what? Earlier today, Israel's going to have to act on the Houthis soon, because on Sunday and on Wednesday, they warned them. Well, the Houthis sent another ballistic missile today towards Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. This was the fourth ballistic missile that the Houthis have launched in 2 days. Less than 2 days. Less than 48 hours. 4 of them. Oh, man. So we've got to keep an eye on that with the Houthis, but you know what? There's still mega concern in Israel over the emerging nuclear agreement between Iran and the U.S. Israel's got to take care of the Houthis. The United States has pulled away from the Houthis because the United States knew that the Houthis were getting close to taking out some F-16s and whatnot, F-35s, because they were tracking in them. But, Israel has a position that Iran should not enter any enrichment abilities, even for civilian use. But it's like suddenly both President Trump and Iranian leader Ayatollah Khamenei, they both want to cut a nuclear deal and avoid a larger conflict. And they're both, it seems like they're both desperate for a deal. But Khamenei has made it clear that he will not permanently dismantle his uranium enrichment centrifuges. But he is willing to pause enrichment and give away much of the existing inventory of enriched uranium. Yeah, right. Everything that Trump's working on right now is essentially the same formula as the 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal, which Trump has always called the worst deal ever. And it's like Trump's paying lip service to Israel and to American officials because they're hawkish about eliminating Tehran's nuclear capabilities. Because Israel knows that their unique window to blow up all or most of Iran's nuclear program is closing. But today's missile from Yemen was intercepted outside of the country's borders, but, Israel threatened to attack 3 seaports the other day, and they haven't done it. And they put out 2 warnings, one on Sunday and Wednesday of this week. And Israel said, "We urge you to evacuate these ports until further notice. Due to the terrorist Houthi regime's use of seaports for its terrorist activities, we urge all those present at these ports to evacuate and stay away from them for your own safety until further notice." Well, Israel hasn't done anything. So it might be time to enact that battle plan. There could be, you know what? When Israel gets going into Gaza, Israel could do this. Oh, it'll be interesting to see, but there's a lot coming up. But, even the Iranian military commanders have now threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz if Israel or the U.S. Strikes their energy infrastructure. And senior Iranian military officials are continuing to prepare for the potential U.S. or Israeli strikes on Iran. And closing the Strait of Hormuz and that threat, that's not new because Tehran has played that card since 1979. But today's context matters a lot more, as 30% of global oil flows through the checkpoint there. And Iran's asymmetric naval capabilities include fast boats and mines, and this could disrupt trade for weeks. But Iran and the E3, and that's the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, they're all supposed to meet in Istanbul, Turkey tomorrow, May 16th, to discuss the U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations. And the Iranian delegation will likely try to persuade the E3 not to impose snapback sanctions on Iran. But meanwhile, a senior Israeli official spoke to several media networks in Israel. And he said that the Israeli government considers the emerging nuclear agreement between the United States and Iran as being very problematic and will need to take actions necessary to protect the state of Israel. Oh, man, we're going to have to keep an eye on Israel, especially once Trump leaves. Oh, man, tomorrow. And this could be a crazy weekend. Here's why. Even tonight, there was heavy reinforcements on the Gaza border, gearing up for what's expected to be a brutal slaughterhouse-like invasion into Gaza against Hamas and terrorism. Check out these tanks and whatnot. This is tonight. And Israel's Operation Gideon's Chariots is a planned military operation that was approved by the Israeli War Council on May 4th. And this intends to take full control of the Gaza Strip. Israel will forcibly push the entire Gaza population south to the Israeli-controlled humanitarian areas and the zones down there. And they're getting ready to march into Gaza anytime, beginning in the next 24 to 48 hours. And the slaughterhouse wording I used a second ago may not be over-exaggerating what's coming either. Because this will be brutal. And the videos that will start to emerge will be jaw-dropping. I mean, Israel may even wait until Monday, but as of now, Saturday is go time. It's D-Day. You know, if no agreement is reached by the end of Trump's visit to the Middle East tomorrow, Israel has indicated that it will proceed with the offensive and destroy Hamas. And even Witkoff, he told mediators that the U.S. is not planning to force Israel to end the Gaza war. So big days are coming up, and this weekend could be really interesting. You know, is there going to be a hostage deal coming, or will it be Gideon's Chariots operation instead? Hostage talks resumed in Doha on Wednesday, and Middle East envoy Witkoff has told other mediators that Washington doesn't plan to force Israel to end the war in Gaza. Of course, Netanyahu is refusing to do so as well, but, you know, Bibi has insisted on only agreeing to a temporary ceasefire of roughly 45 days, which would begin with Hamas releasing about 10 hostages. And during that time, he told Witkoff that Israel prepared to hold talks on a permanent end to the war without committing to it up front. Well, Hamas has rejected this framework, arguing that it had already agreed to release hostages during a January truce that was supposed to see Israel hold talks regarding a permanent end to the war. But Netanyahu refused to enter the talks, and he resumed the IDF's Gaza operation on March 18th. So Hamas has insisted on an upfront Israeli commitment to end the war before it releases additional hostages. It also issued a statement today, a warning of harm to the talks if Israel doesn't end the nearly 2.5-month-long blockade on aid getting into Gaza. So Witkoff has offered a proposal that tries to meet the sides halfway, one that would see the release of a smaller number of hostages in exchange for, say, a 1-week truce. Well, Arab officials say that the sides remain far apart, and the American, Qatari, and Egyptian mediators are still looking to push them towards a compromise in the next day or so. Because Israel's, they've pledged to launch a major military operation to reoccupy and hold onto the entire Strip if Hamas doesn't accept its proposal for a temporary ceasefire by the time Trump wraps up his Mideast trip on Friday. So literally Israel has, Gaza, Hamas, they've literally, got 16, 18 hours max. Arab mediators are hoping the U.S. will convince Israel to hold off at least for a few more days, because they wanted to see if the results of Tuesday's IDF strike, which targeted a bunch of Hamas's leaders, Mohammed Sinwar, a bunch of others were killed, but, they want to see how that is holding off. In other words, they want to see if taking him out will change the narrative for Israel needing to go in as hard as they need to, but they do. But also Arab leaders they're supposed to gather for a summit in Baghdad on Saturday, and they're going to focus on Gaza. And they're hoping that Israel doesn't begin their offensive during that meeting. They're hoping they hold off until after their meeting on Saturday. So we'll have to see, because Hamas has already agreed to forego governing control over the Strip. And at least 5 Arab countries are preparing to take part in the post-war management of Gaza. And they're arguing that this will lead to a gradual disarmament of Hamas. That's not going to happen either. Because if this, but you know what? They need to have an invitation from the Palestinian Authority, and Netanyahu is refusing to accommodate talking to him yet. But they want to have this political horizon for the Palestinians, a 2-state solution. And they're saying if they can get that, then that demands for permanent Hamas disarmament. And that they would be disarmed then. But Israel has to come to the table first and agree to a 2-state solution. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. Witkoff largely agrees with the Arab approach and told the hostages' families last week that the Netanyahu government's plan to massively expand the war into Gaza will not be effective. So basically, Witkoff has told the hostage families, you know what, he's not very confident in the Israel going in. But, he was pressed again with the families on Tuesday as why the U.S. was not willing to force Netanyahu to end the war. Witkoff responded, well, the Israeli government is sovereign. We can't tell Israel what to do. But they are moving into Gaza because a couple hours ago, the IDF tanks advanced in the Al-Salatin area of Beit Lahia there in northern Gaza. And the IDF was going in early into Gaza tonight. So the IDF ordered evacuation notices, but not everyone took heed to the evacuation notices and left. And the IDF surrounded the school where the terrorists were. Well, where the terrorists were here at the school, the shelter of the Othman school west of Beit Lahia, north of the Gaza Strip, and then things came to a halt, and the women and children were then deported towards Gaza southward. The school is right there in red, but videos are coming out from Gaza showing many civilian casualties tonight, and many today from earlier bombings in Gaza. So, earlier tonight it was being reported that a massive military operation had begun with bombings from the land, sea, and air. Yes and no. It wasn't that big yet. That's still coming, but the IDF did bomb the house of the Gandor family. It's a Hamas brigade commander who was recently eliminated next to the school there in Beit Lahia. So, medical sources tell Al Jazeera today, and of course the numbers are inflated, but they said that 136 martyrs today in Gaza from the Israeli raids in the Gaza Strip in less than 24 hours. But this is just the beginning. Because, Israel's moving straight ahead tonight with the pre-Gideon Chariots attack plans. And even the Israeli media was picking up on it. And they said what's happening in northern Gaza tonight seems to be a prelude to Operation Gideon. The main operation hasn't even begun yet. But Israel now occupies 35% of Gaza's territory through an expanding buffer zone. And satellite images reveal that the buffer zone covers approximately 129 square kilometers. That's 50 square miles now that Israel covers and controls of Gaza. Now, additionally, 15 large military posts have been built there in the zone and established. But, the images also revealed Israel forces constructing 5 military corridors running laterally across Gaza, with troops deployed in several strategic locations, including Rafah, Gaza City in the northern Gaza Strip. I mean, it's literally almost go time. But, even before I hit record, now tonight in the southern Strip, tanks were approaching the town there north of Khan Yunis. And there were heavy reports of gunfire and sound of tanks and bombings on the town and liquidation west of the town. So, it's all kinds of stuff is happening. And we're going to get over there. You know what? Let's just do it now. Let's get right over here because I wanted to show you some of the verses with Gaza coming up. Gideon's Chariots is going to kick off, but this is going to get absolutely nuts. And I'm looking here at Amos 1, verses 6 through 8. For 3 transgressions of Gaza and for 4, I will not revoke its punishment because they deported an entire population to deliver it up to Edom. I still have a feeling they're going to take some of these Gazan people and going to switch them there to southern Jordan, to Edom. But God's going to send fire upon the wall of Gaza and consume her citadels. He will also cut off the inhabitants. He will unleash his power upon Ekron. All those areas, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines will perish, says the Lord God. All those areas were old school Gaza, for Gaza will be abandoned in Zephaniah 2, 4-7. Ashkelon a desolation. Ashdod will be driven out at noon, and Ekron will be uprooted. Woe to the inhabitants of the Mediterranean seacoast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of the Lord is against you, O Canaan, land of the Philistines. I will destroy you so that there will be no inhabitant. This thing with Israel and Gideon's chariots, this is what I'm saying, guys. This is going to get nuts. The coast will be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They will end up pasturing on it. But look at verse 8 at the bottom of Zephaniah 2, 4-7, verse 8. I have heard the taunting of Moab and the revilings of the sons of Ammon. There's more prophecies coming up soon with Jordan. But here again, Jeremiah 47, 4-7. On account of the day that is coming to destroy all the Philistines, to cut off from Tyre and Sidon, that's Hezbollah strongholds, every ally that is left. For the Lord is going to destroy the Philistines. The remnant of the coastland of Caphtor. Baldness has come upon Gaza. Ashkelon has been ruined. O remnant of the valley, how long will you gash yourself? The Lord is going to destroy the Philistines. This is why when this is over, there's going to be no more left. I mean, how long will you not be quiet? Withdraw to your sheath. How long can it be quiet? When the Lord has given it an order against Ashkelon and against the Mediterranean sea coast, there he has assigned it. Basically, God said, I've done it. I've said it. I've prophesied it. It's coming. In other words, it's done. Next. I mean, that's what's coming up because we've got everything going on here. But you know what? Even going back over here, everything going on with the Middle East. I mean, Trump up there with Mohammed bin Salman, $600 billion in investments, $1.2 trillion with Qatar in total deals, $10 billion into U.S. military base, and $42 billion in weapons. Qatar Airways is going to buy 210 Boeings airplanes, $96 billion. Another $3 billion drone defense tech deal. Who's next? Oh, yeah, UAE down there at the bottom. You know, they pledged $1.4 trillion for U.S. investment over 10 years and $200 billion in separate deals. Even the U.S. reached a deal to let the UAE import 500,000, 500,000 NVIDIA AI chips annually starting ASAP. 500,000 NVIDIA AI chips, top of the line. Of course, with Syria, all sanctions were lifted and U.S. firms are encouraged to invest in oil and gas. But, you know, everything that Trump's doing over here in the Middle East is all for, I believe, the art of the deal. And one of the big things is the Abrahamic Accords. We've still got to keep an eye on that. This came out yesterday. Trump's envoy, Witkoff, says that Azerbaijan may soon join Abraham Accords. And then yesterday and today, they're talking about Syria joining. I don't see Syria join, especially not with the prophecies coming up. But here's what it says. According to Channel 12, Israel's been holding secret talks with senior officials of the Syrian government over the last few days regarding the possibility of Syria joining the Abraham Accords. And this comes less than 24 hours after Trump formally asked Syrian president to join the Abraham Accords and normalize ties with Israel yesterday when he met Jolani. You know, one of the meetings is said to have occurred in Azerbaijan recently with the head of the Operations Directorate of the Israeli Defense Force, representing Israel while meeting with both Syrian and Turkish officials in Baku. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But, you know, according to Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, 5 to 6 new countries may join the Abraham Accords. Lebanon, keep in mind, Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, Jolani, Azerbaijan, I can see Azerbaijan, Armenia, no, Saudi Arabia, yeah, I can see those, but check it out. He's talking that, you know, he's all excited.
Breitbart yesterday on specifically this topic, and he suggested that he believes that there will be a bunch of countries that come into the Abraham Accords under President Trump's administration.
And we are out there. I have a very, very good team. We work with the State Department exceptionally well, which allows us to take advantage of talent from there as needed in some of these conversations that we're having. And I'm really confident that we're going to have 4, 5, maybe 6 countries enter the Abraham Peace Accords in the next couple of months.
Okay, and the countries that he was mentioning there include, as we will see, Syria, Lebanon, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and he hopes Saudi Arabia.
Let me know what you guys think who's going to join. Yeah, I can definitely see Saudi Arabia. I could see Azerbaijan, Syria, no, Lebanon, no. But Everything with the Abraham Accords, it's not just saying, especially with Jolani in Syria, and it's not just saying we recognize Israel exists. Now give us billions of dollars in benefits while we remain jihadist or a hostile entity. The Abraham Accords is about full normalization. They're all about creating real peace. And everyone, including Trump, who successfully negotiated the first round of the Abraham Accords, knows that this is not about grabbing a headline and then moving on. These are all calculated moves that are moving towards prophecy. And one of the efforts of the Abraham Accords is interfaith unity. Check this out. We encourage efforts to promote interfaith and intercultural dialogue to advance a culture of peace among the three Abrahamic religions. I should have I misspelled that. Among the three Abrahamic religions and all humanity. And this is from the Abraham, of course, Declaration. From the state.gov, from the State Department website, state.gov/the-Abraham-Accords. Check this out, the Abraham Accords Declaration. Down in the bottom left, we encourage efforts to promote interfaith and intercultural dialogue to advance a culture of peace among the three Abrahamic religions and all humanity. So they're really going to push this tomorrow, I believe, with the Abraham Accords. You're going to have Trump visiting the Abrahamic family house in Abu Dhabi. There's a reason why Brett Baer, even from Fox News, is showing the special report tonight on the Abrahamic family house before Trump visits it tomorrow.
Of the region's great religions. The Abrahamic family house located in Abu Dhabi is a project that aims to promote coexistence and interfaith dialogue with the three Abrahamic faiths. Judaism, which is why you have a synagogue here in the middle, Islam, which is a mosque over here on the left, and Christianity, which is a church over in the distance, all on the same campus, symbolizing a commitment to tolerance and understanding, something the Abraham Accords, signed at the White House in 2020, aim to do as well. Special report continues after this.
I don't want you to think you're actually watching Fox News there. But guys, let me know what you guys think. This Middle East update tonight is crazy. And I've only covered a little bit of the news. Oh my goodness, there's so many videos I could have shown even more and whatnot. There's just so much. It's like, where do you even begin? Where do you start? Where do you focus on? Everything tonight was pretty much from Abraham Accords to Trump's visit to the Middle East to, this Middle East update with the Gideon's Chariots operation getting ready to go into Gaza. And that, oh man, that's just going to get nutty, Professor Insane. Oh my goodness. Well, let's get this uploaded. Thank you guys so much for watching. We've been going, 35, 40 minutes here. But I'm taking Mrs. Bubba tomorrow to her third visit with the physical therapy. And next week we have an MRI, and I got to figure out what she said. I think she said Wednesday, but I'd like to do a live stream here soon and whatnot. But thank you so much for you guys for your prayers. Thank you so much I've been getting some emails from you guys. Some of you have been reaching out to me via text. Thank you so much for that. For those of you who have donated PayPal, GiveSendGo, Cash App, Venmo, all the links are down in the description box below. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mrs. Bubba with everything going on. But thank you guys so much for watching. And just know that we are getting so close to getting out of here because Jesus Christ is coming so very soon. I can't believe we're still here, number one. But the next few weeks, I believe that, honestly, I believe once this thing really starts getting kicked off with Israel going into Gaza, going after Hamas, I think this is going to really start that prophecy. I think it's really going to start that prophecy engine revving, and it's really going to start ramping up. Jesus told us, when these things begin to start happening, it's going to happen, even Revelation 1, take quickly. Once these things kick off, it's going to start going fast. And I believe that it is going to start kicking off very soon, and it is going to start going very fast. So, we've got to keep our eyes focused on the Lord Jesus Christ because he is coming so very soon, and no one's listening. No one's paying attention. Everyone's, if the storm weather forecaster dude told you a storm is coming, everyone goes and prepares and gets ready. When we tell you guys in the world out there that Jesus Christ is coming so soon, people always go right back to 2 Peter 3 and 3, 3, and 4. You know, where's the promise of thy coming? All things have continued ever since our fathers have died. You know, it's like everyone's turning a blind eye to what's really going on. And those who have their heads buried in the sand, I don't think they're coming out anytime soon like ostriches. But those of us who see the signs, you know, eyes that see and ears that hear, we see it. And we want others to know that this is real. This is really real. And once this really gets going, it's going to get really, really, really real fast. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble there. You guys are awesome. Maranatha, Jesus Christ is coming so very soon. And we're going to have more to talk about tomorrow because this whole thing with Abraham Accords and the Abrahamic family house, stay tuned. This could be a nutty weekend. Yeah, all right.